was actually sitting in the Capitol on 9/11 early in the morning, and the security, Capitol Police said, "Get out of here, evacuate." Didn't know what was going on. I just, okay. Ran up Pennsylvania Avenue, turned around, saw this smoke, and ran to one of my colleagues' house who had gone actually to the cleaners. And lo and behold, we put the television on, and World Trade Towers, the smoke I saw was the Pentagon burning. Flight 93 was coming into the Capitol, and that's my chief of staff, his cousin, Wanda Green, was the flight attendant on Flight 93. So you can imagine the trauma and that everyone had in this country, but also personally for me. So we were trying to figure out, like, what went, who did this, why, what do we do? Now, I'm no pacifist, but what happened was, through these deliberations, it was always, we've got to retaliate, retaliate, retaliate. No other option, retaliate, retaliate. Now look, yeah, we have to bring terrorists to justice. We can't let them get away with this. But what you don't do, and George Bush and the Democrats and Republicans came up with this authorization to use military force. 60 words, it was so broad. I said, wait a minute, and I spoke up in caucus. I said, this is taking away your responsibility to declare war. You don't give this to the executive branch. And a lot of members said, yeah, you're right. But that moment, you know, the moment of anger, and I'm a social worker, psychiatric social worker by profession, so I know you don't make hard decisions when you're in mourning, when you're grieving, when you're angry. And so I'm saying, let's wait, let's take time to mourn and to grieve and make some decisions based on some rational and appropriate responses. So 3 days after that attack, there was a memorial at the National Cathedral. And I was talking to Elijah Cummings in the back, in the cloakroom. It was a jury day. I said, Elijah, I'm not going to go to that memorial. He said, yeah, I know what you're thinking. I said, yeah, we were really close. I said, this is something that I'm really worried about, this authorization. I can't vote for it, but I know what's going to happen. It's a minute. I said, I think I'll go. So I raced down the steps. I had a can of ginger ale. I'll never forget that day. It was a gloomy day. Raced down. I think I was the last one on the bus. Went to the National Cathedral. And it was, you know, a lot of the speeches, I won't say prayers, but speeches, comments were drumbeat to war. It was not quite a memorial, some of, you know. So Bishop, the head of the National Cathedral, Nathan Baxter, who I just met last year, black man who's phenomenal, religious leader, like unbelievable. And so in his eulogy, he said, as we act, let us not become the evil that we deplore. So I wrote that down, and at that moment, I was settled. And my mother later said, well, you know, when Barbara makes her mind up, she's pretty stubborn. Don't try to change her mind. So I came back, because we were supposed to debate it the next day, Saturday. And my office said, no, and I was on the Committee of Jurisdiction, the Foreign Affairs Committee. They're bringing this up in an hour. If you're going to speak, you better get to the floor. So I raced over to the Capitol and didn't have a time to really write the speech. I just jotted down a few thoughts. And I got up there and delivered that 1 minute and just said, I can't vote for this.
Mr. Speaker, members, I rise today really with a very heavy heart. One that is filled with sorrow for the families and the loved ones who were killed and injured this week. Only the most foolish and the most callous would not understand the grief that has really gripped our people and millions across the world. This unspeakable act on the United States has really forced me, however, to rely on my moral compass, my conscience, and my God for direction. September 11th changed the world. Our deepest fears now haunt us. Yet I am convinced that military action will not prevent further acts of international terrorism against the United States. This is a very complex and complicated matter. Now, this resolution will pass, although we all know that the president can wage a war even without it. However difficult this vote may be, some of us must urge the use of restraint. Our country is in a state of mourning. Some of us must say, let's step back for a moment. Let's just pause just for a minute and think through the implications of our actions today so that this does not spiral out of control. Now, I have agonized over this vote, but I came to grips with it today, and I came to grips with opposing this resolution during the very painful yet very beautiful memorial service. As a member of the clergy so eloquently said, as we act, let us not become the evil that we deplore. Thank you, and I yield the balance of my time.
And I was very upset. I mean, like everyone, I was grieving. But I said, this is just giving away this authorization. 60 words, and to this day, okay, and then death threats and the rest. It was a terrible, terrible time, because what I learned was a lot of people don't really care about dissent in the moment of national security threats. In a democracy, you should have the option to dissent. But people were saying, called me a traitor. You know, they called for me to be assassinated. My opponent walked in the New York parade, Veterans Day parade, with a sign of me smiling. The World Trade Towers burning in the background, and it's with Rudy Giuliani in the front of the parade saying, Barbara Lee hates America. And I saw that, and it was like, oh my God. So this stuff was bad. So fast forward to today, I've got even MAGA extremist Republicans helping me trying to repeal this authorization. It's taken this long, but I think we're getting close, because it's been used over and over and over again, even for domestic spying in the United States. It's been used in countries that had no kind of connection to 9/11. Okay.